The Toronto Maple Leafs have seen their playoff aspirations dim considerably, now finding themselves 6 points adrift of a coveted NHL playoff spot. This precarious position solidified following the conclusion of games played on January 26th, specifically after the Boston Bruins secured a crucial point in their Monday night matchup. The landscape of the Eastern Conference standings shifted unfavorably for Toronto, creating a more challenging path toward the postseason. The primary catalyst for this increased deficit was the Boston Bruins' performance against the New York Rangers. Despite an overtime loss, the Bruins managed to clinch a single point, a result that significantly impacted the Maple Leafs' standing in the playoff race. Prior to these games, the Maple Leafs were already 5 points behind a playoff berth. The Bruins' acquisition of an additional point effectively widened that gap to 6 points, pushing Toronto further away from contention. The Bruins' encounter with the New York Rangers was a tightly contested affair. Boston ultimately fell 4-3 in overtime, but their ability to force the extra period proved critical. Throughout the game, the Bruins displayed resilience, even holding a 3-2 lead in the third period against the rebuilding Rangers. However, Will Borgen of the Rangers managed to tie the game, sending it into overtime and guaranteeing Boston at least 1 point. This single point, though not a win, was sufficient to create more distance between the Bruins and the struggling Maple Leafs. Had the Bruins secured a regulation win against the Rangers, the situation for the Maple Leafs would have been marginally different, yet still challenging. In that scenario, Boston would have gained 2 points, but the Montreal Canadiens would have occupied the second wild card spot, maintaining Toronto's 6-point deficit. The specific outcome of the Bruins game, therefore, consistently placed the Maple Leafs 6 points out of a playoff spot, irrespective of a regulation win or an overtime loss for Boston. The confluence of results from these games underscores the intense competition within the NHL's Eastern Conference and the slim margins dictating playoff contention. The Maple Leafs now face a critical juncture in their season, with only 5 games remaining before the NHL schedule pauses for the 2026 Winter Olympics. This short window presents a significant challenge for a team that desperately needs to accumulate points. Their immediate focus shifts to an upcoming home game against the Buffalo Sabres on Tuesday. This matchup carries substantial weight, as the Sabres currently sit 6 points ahead of the Maple Leafs and hold third place in the Atlantic Division. The Sabres' position is further bolstered by having played fewer games than both Boston and Montreal, indicating a more favorable points percentage. Toronto's current form adds another layer of difficulty to their playoff pursuit. The team is mired in a 4-game losing streak, a trend that must be reversed swiftly if they hope to climb back into contention. Following the crucial home game against Buffalo, the Maple Leafs will embark on a demanding 4-game road trip. This Western Conference swing will see them face formidable opponents including the Seattle Kraken, Vancouver Canucks, Calgary Flames, and Edmonton Oilers. Each of these games represents a significant test and an opportunity, albeit a challenging one, to gain ground in the standings. The confluence of their current losing streak, the upcoming Olympic break, and a tough road schedule paints a stark picture for the Maple Leafs' immediate future regarding their playoff aspirations. The Maple Leafs' current plight is further emphasized by the specific details of the Bruins' recent performance. The 4-3 overtime loss to the New York Rangers, while not a regulation victory, was enough to secure a crucial point for Boston. This single point had disproportionate implications for Toronto. The Bruins, despite their youthful opponents, demonstrated a capacity to compete, even holding a 3-2 lead in the third period. It was only a late equalizer from Will Borgen that forced overtime, an outcome that ultimately benefited the Bruins in the standings. This result solidified the 6-point gap, a critical margin for the struggling Leafs. Before Monday's games, Toronto was already 5 points adrift of a playoff spot. The Bruins' point gain immediately extended this deficit. The scenario would have been identical even if Boston had won in regulation, as Montreal would have then occupied the second wildcard position, keeping the Leafs 6 points out. This illustrates the tight race and the direct impact of competitors' results on Toronto's playoff aspirations. Every point gained by a rival, regardless of the manner in which it is acquired, directly diminishes the Maple Leafs' chances. With only 5 games remaining before the NHL pauses for the 2026 Winter Olympics, time is a significant factor. This compressed schedule means there are fewer opportunities for Toronto to make up ground. The immediate challenge is a home game against the Buffalo Sabres. This matchup is particularly significant because the Sabres are currently 6 points ahead of the Maple Leafs. Furthermore, the Sabres hold third place in the Atlantic Division, a position they have achieved with fewer games played than both Boston and Montreal. This indicates a stronger points percentage, highlighting the difficulty Toronto faces in overcoming this divisional rival. A loss to Buffalo would not only fail to close the gap, but could also further solidify the Sabres' playoff position, making Toronto's path even more arduous. The Maple Leafs' current form compounds these challenges. The team is on a 4-game losing streak, a trend that demands immediate reversal. A prolonged slump at this critical juncture significantly undermines their playoff hopes. The upcoming schedule offers little respite. Following the Buffalo game, the Maple Leafs embark on a demanding 4-game road trip. This Western Conference swing will pit them against 4 distinct opponents: the Seattle Kraken, Vancouver Canucks, Calgary Flames, and Edmonton Oilers. Each team on this road trip presents its own set of difficulties. The Seattle Kraken, while not perennial contenders, can be a tough out, particularly at home. The Vancouver Canucks are typically strong contenders in the Western Conference. The Calgary Flames, known for their physical play, always present a challenge. Finally, the Edmonton Oilers, with their star power, are a formidable opponent for any team, especially one struggling with consistency and confidence. Navigating this road trip successfully, by securing a substantial number of points, is imperative for the Maple Leafs. A failure to do so would likely seal their fate before the Olympic break, making any post-break recovery exceedingly difficult. The combined weight of their current losing streak, the impending Olympic hiatus, and the demanding road schedule paints a bleak picture for the Maple Leafs' immediate future regarding their playoff aspirations. The current statistical outlook for the Toronto Maple Leafs reflects their precarious position. As of Monday, MoneyPuck.com, a reputable source for hockey analytics, calculated the probability of the Maple Leafs making the playoffs at a mere 6%. This figure underscores the severity of their situation and the significant uphill battle they face. It is a sharp decline from earlier projections and highlights the cumulative impact of their recent performance and the successes of their rivals. Such low odds typically indicate that a team requires an exceptional run of victories combined with favorable outcomes from other games to even contend for a playoff berth. Given these bleak statistics, the upcoming game against the Buffalo Sabres transcends a typical regular season matchup. It is a critical juncture for Toronto. Securing a win against Buffalo is not merely about gaining 2 points. It is about preventing further erosion of their playoff chances and demonstrating an ability to reverse their current losing trend. A loss would not only widen the gap in the standings but also deal a significant psychological blow to a team already struggling with confidence. This game represents an immediate opportunity to regain momentum before facing even tougher challenges. The subsequent 4-game Western Conference road trip presents an even greater test. Traveling across time zones and facing strong opponents while on a losing streak introduces substantial difficulties. Maintaining focus and executing consistent play under these conditions is exceptionally challenging. The physical and mental toll of such a trip can be considerable, potentially exacerbating existing performance issues. For a team already vulnerable, this road trip could either galvanize them into a desperate push or confirm their slide out of contention. The overall context of the NHL standings further amplifies the pressure on the Maple Leafs. The Eastern Conference in particular features a tight race, where every point gained or lost has magnified significance. Teams are closely bunched, meaning that even minor slips can result in multiple positions lost in the standings. This environment demands consistent, high-level performance, something Toronto has lacked recently. The margin for error has effectively evaporated. The continuous setbacks and the declining playoff odds inevitably impact team morale. Players and coaching staff are acutely aware of their position and the growing external pressure. A sustained period of underperformance can create an atmosphere of doubt and frustration, potentially affecting on-ice chemistry and individual performance. Rebuilding confidence and fostering a winning mentality under these circumstances requires strong leadership and a collective commitment to overcoming adversity. To navigate this challenging period, the Maple Leafs will need to strategize effectively. This involves not only on-ice adjustments, but also mental preparation. They must identify and rectify the issues contributing to their losing streak, whether they are defensive lapses, offensive struggles, or special teams inefficiencies. Their approach to each of the remaining games before the Olympic break must be meticulously planned, treating every moment as a high-stakes playoff scenario. Among the fan base, there is growing concern. Maple Leafs fans, known for their passionate support, are increasingly vocal about the team's struggles and the dimming playoff prospects. This fan reaction adds another layer of pressure as the team carries the weight of high expectations. The continued underperformance risks alienating a segment of the fan base and intensifying calls for significant changes. Failure to make the playoffs could have substantial long-term implications for the organization. It could trigger a review of the team's management structure, coaching staff, and player personnel. Roster construction decisions, particularly regarding key players and contracts, would be scrutinized. The consequences of missing the postseason extend beyond immediate sporting disappointment, potentially shaping the team's trajectory for several seasons. The consistent performance of rival teams like the Boston Bruins and Montreal Canadiens only intensifies the pressure on the Maple Leafs. These teams have demonstrated resilience and an ability to secure crucial points, contrasting sharply with Toronto's recent form. This comparison highlights the gap in consistency and puts additional onus on the Maple Leafs to elevate their game. Ultimately, the Maple Leafs require a significant turnaround in their performance to overcome their current deficit. This turnaround must be immediate and sustained, beginning with the critical home game against Buffalo and extending through the daunting Western Conference road trip. Anything less will likely result in their absence from the postseason, marking a significant disappointment for the franchise and its supporters. The next few games will define their season.